Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Welcome to Legacy Boxing Showcase, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. Pettis Collision, Ed Nunez, along with Austin Colleen. Austin, so many things to talk about as far as boxing. We'll get to Buffalo Thunder here this weekend. What a great card that was. If you want to know anything about boxing, colleenscorner.com. Austin's got a column just about every week, every other week. Anything about boxing in New Mexico, also nationally, Colleen's Corner is the place to find it. First, I want to ask you, and I talked about this last week, Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo Alvarez. What a great fight. Again, these two fighters have been in the ring 24 rounds. Not much separates them. I had it a draw. I scored it a draw. What a fight. I saw it again yesterday on the replay on HBO. What did you see?
I thought Triple G won, but I talked to both Perez brothers, and boy, they saw a different fight than I saw. They had Canelo big. So, hey, they're paying our bills, so I didn't want to argue about the point.
They'll do it again. I'm sure they're going to do it again. Now, here's what I'm going to put out to you. It was rumored or said Floyd Mayweather wants to fight Manny Pacquiao again. And I'll tell you one thing, as someone that purchased that last fight, I have no desire to see that fight. Now, here's what I would say. Why doesn't Mayweather say, let me fight Canelo? Let me take a chance and fight Canelo. That's where the fight that I would. Now, he beat Canelo 5 years ago, and Canelo was a little bit wet behind the ears. I would think he probably still would beat him, but I want to see that fight. Now, Mayweather's not going to take that chance, I don't think, but that's a fight I would like to see.
Well, old school fighters, when you're talking 30s, 40s, 50s, they didn't look for openings for a clean punch. They would hit you on your deltoids, your arms, just to beat your arms down. And that's how they would have gone about fighting Floyd Mayweather. Hit him in his elbow until you get him to drop his guard. So they may be down 4 rounds to none, but eventually they'd get clean shots on you.
He was so fast, as a defensive fighter. Now, look, it's not my type of fighter. I mean, I'll give him credit. One of the greatest defensive fighters that we've seen. I'm not going to YouTube his fights in 10 years for the entertainment value. I'm not going to. So let's see what happens there. Alexander Povetkin and Anthony Joshua, defeats Alexander Povetkin on Saturday in the 7th round. Now, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, December 1st. Wilder wins that one, we'll see. But if Fury wins, he'll fight Joshua. Now, they'll probably fight at Wembley Stadium. That's more money to be. Mike Adams, the host of On the Mic with Mike Adams, Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., 6:10, always talks about the economic impact of any fight like that. So I'm thinking at Wembley Stadium, you got 80,000 people you can draw there.
Oh, it'd be a huge gate. I suspect they might like to see Tyson Fury win the fight because they would pack that, but they would pack with the other fighter as well.
We'll see. We're going to have Colleen Aycock, who's a author, very interesting books that she's written, as the guest in our second segment. Austin, you were Holmes, Buffalo Thunder on Saturday, and you wrote a great column. Talk to us about the cards. There's some great fights, by the way, and again, another great column on colleenscorner.com. Go ahead and talk about the
first
fights.
of all, Pat Holmes brought in tough opponents for his fighters. In the main event, this young Mexican boy named, I can't even remember his name, begins with an A. Avila. Luis Avila. What a nice young man. What a fight they had. It was tremendous.
Tone Martinez.
And they just went back and forth for 6 rounds. It was a split decision. Avilar won the fight. I think it would make for a great rematch. And Pat Holmes has a young girl named Martinez. And he matched her against an undefeated girl from Colorado. In that fight, she won, but it could have been a draw. It wouldn't have been a bad call either.
Leanna Martinez over Danielle Saldana. Leanna Martinez, I believe that's a fight you're talking
Right.
about. Unanimous decision.
Well, it was unanimous, but it could have easily, the rounds were competitive, could have easily been a draw. I had no problem with her winning. She was stronger than the other girl, and that probably was what set them apart. But the other girl had a beautiful jab, and she was disrupting Martinez's rhythm.
All three judges, 39-37.
Yeah, they agreed unanimously.
So you didn't have a problem with the
No, but I could
scores, and
see-
you did say it was a close fight.
It could have been a draw. No one would have complained.
The fight I think a lot of people want to know about is Diamond Boy, Matthew Griego. He'd been out for a while, but he's victorious in his comeback, and he'd had about a 10-month layoff, I believe.
He fought this gentleman named Hunter, and Hunter was rangy and fast, and in the first round, he had trouble with Hunter, but in the second round, Diamond Boy's pretty quick in his own right, and he nailed him with a headshot, dropped him, and Hunter beat the count, but he was in no condition to continue. So it was a TKO.
So much is expected from Diamond Boy and about Diamond Boy, comparisons to Johnny Tapia, and that's always, it's dicey, man. There's only one Johnny Tapia. But what you saw there, I mean, he's exciting. He comes out with an entourage, the Mexico flag. I mean, he's exciting. He's an exciting fighter. But what you've seen so far, and again, he's had that layoff. What do you think? Where do you think his future lies, or where does it lie?
The layoff didn't seem to hurt him at all. But what I love about Diamond Boy, before he turned pro, that night, I think it was at Camel Rock, and he was handing out flyers for a victory party. And I said, shouldn't you win the fight first? And then the first punch of the fight, he almost got dropped.
Oh, man, really? And you said around the long left jab that Hunter had.
Yeah.
I read that. See, I do my homework, Austin.
So that's good. I'm glad you're reading my column.
Yes,
so that's
sir.
one person I can count on. And,
There's more than that. Yeah, there's more than that.
Yeah, so, well,
You gotta love the chutzpah, though. You're gonna have a victory party, but you announces the party before the fight.
Yeah, well, he announced it before the fight. So he's, there's a Jewish word, hoopsta, I think it is.
Chutzpah, yeah.
And,
Yeah, I might have said it wrong. I don't know, but
yeah. But you're really good in your Spanish pronunciations. I don't know how you
I better
are in
be, man.
Hebrew.
I better be. My mom and dad would roll over in their grave if I wasn't. But sounds like a great card out there to Buffalo Thunder. We'll be back to Legacy Boxing Showcase with our special guest in studio, Colleen Aycock, after these messages.
Side. Motion. Schreier, the bootleg. Got pressure coming from his right. Throws in the end zone.
Touchdown.
Caught touchdown.
Wow.
What a no. That's
Man, this beat is crazy.
Davidson's going to hand it off to Lewis, who bounces to the outside, and he's got all the speed in the world. Touchdown, Dorian Lewis. Just like that, 31 yards, touchdown.
they were split to the near side. Schreier back to throw on the fade route. Caught touchdown.
Nice.
What a catch there.
Come on, man, this beat is crazy.
Short field, Davidson gonna go deep, and he's got his guy at the 10, a cut at the 5, and it's Randy Nieto.
That's a 6-week injury at least. Ivy saw the head up. Big hole up the middle. 30, 35, 40 into West Basin territory. One man to beat. They won't catch Xavier Ivy Sod. 80-yard touchdown run on the first play.
It'll be first down and 10 as Jeff Davidson take the option. Going to quarterback keep it. He's got some room. A cut to the outside. Look out. The sophomore's off to the races. Davidson to the 20. Can he go all the way? Touchdown, Cleveland. And what a fast strike by the Storm.
Powell rolls to his left and throws across his body. Cotton's got one man to beat. 45-40 down the left sideline, and he's going to score.
Oh my gosh.
Jack Blankenship. Martin's throwing on the go route. Look who's out there. Caught.
Oh my
Touchdown.
gosh.
Holy cow, what a
Wow.
play. What a play, what a catch.
Man, this beat is crazy.
Welcome back to Legacy Boxing Showcase, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions, Pettis Collision, Ed Nunez, along with Austin Colleen. Our special guest in studio, Colleen Aycock, is also an author and also the author of International Boxing Research Organization.
One of the co-editors.
Co-editors. Colleen, welcome to the show. Thanks so
Thank
much
you,
for coming
Ed.
on. I'll tell you something. It's fascinating, the history that you talk about with boxing. You know, there's a book about Max Baer out there, and Max Baer, for people that don't know, the former heavyweight champion in the 30s. So much history. Of course, his son, Max Baer Jr., played Jethro Bodine on the Beverly Hillbillies, and he's probably more known than his father, at least, you know. But from the boxing standpoint, some of the stories you tell, it brings me back to my own father, who I loved boxing because of my dad. You know, we'd watch boxing matches together. He never liked Ali, and I think it was because Muhammad Ali refused induction.
My father never liked Ali.
My father always wanted Ali to get beat, and we would argue, you know. So
We're same generation.
Yes. So glad to have you on, Austin. Colleen, go ahead and ask Colleen Aycock, who we've wanted to have on for a long time.
Thank you.
A boxing colleague of yours. Go ahead and open the show here.
Colleen lives about 3 minutes from me, and we met in New York at the Boxing Hall of Fame. I didn't even know who she was. And, that's where we met.
Oh, she's got a tremendous amount of knowledge and history, and I'm glad we've got her on. We've been wanting to get her on for a long time. Go ahead, Austin.
Well,
There's a lot of books here, too, so a lot of boxing books.
your father was a fighter, obviously. So what was your earliest memory of boxing?
Well, like Ed, the same thing. I remember Friday night Gillette fights. And since you only had one television in the early days, and it was black and white.
3 channels.
And your father got to choose what he would watch. So he would sit back in the easy chair and then would watch the fights and do all of that. And so I grew up watching the fights.
So who was your first hero?
You know, I think the Onion Man was probably my first hero.
Carmen Basilio?
Yeah, because I remember those fights. And, you know, I mean, Floyd Patterson, you remember the Floyd Patterson fights? And
I was talking.
I'm older than you think I am.
Well, I was just a schoolboy. I was at a formal dinner with this matronly woman, and we got talking, and she's, "Oh, you like boxing?" Well, my favorite fighter was Orlando Zulueta. And I'm looking at her, who knows who Orlando Zulueta is? I mean, I knew who he was, great Cuban fighter, but whenever she brought his name, and that was her favorite fighter. And of course, everybody at the table couldn't believe this woman was talking about a fighter, and of course, someone they never heard of.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the 30s, especially the time that my dad fought in the Great Depression, there were more fighters and more great fighters in that era, you know, that decade than any other, because everybody was trying to make a dime, and that's exactly how my father started. People would throw coins. There was a boxing ring downtown in the center of every major town, or little town, or any town, and people would throw pennies and nickels, and he needed shoes. He didn't have shoes, so he saw that he estimated there were about $5 in that ring, and they asked anybody that wanted to step in and challenge, and he won his first fight and bought his really nice pair of leather shoes.
Yeah, so think about that time that you're describing. You know, my dad grew up in the Depression too, and so hey, $5 at that time You remember this is at a time when there's men selling apples on the corner for 2 cents or 2 pennies. I'm a big history guy, so I remember, not seeing that, but reading about it. So $5 at that time, boy, I'll tell you something.
Nice pair of shoes.
That, just you describing that, you can almost see the scene. Dark, smoke-filled rooms. That's when you could smoke in
Right.
auditoriums, things like that. So what a memory. God, what memories you must have.
And my dad always wore, he was a working class man, and he wore a uniform, but I'm telling you, he always had alligator shoes.
Oh, man.
They were the best. He always had the nicest shoes, and I think it was from that first time when he, won enough money. His fights, they were typically $25 fights that you'd get paid, but you could get a percentage of the gate. So it created these fighters with just amazing charisma because they would have a draw. And then eventually he went on to spar with Max Baer. And Max Baer, my father was a welter turned middleweight, and those were the stories that I loved.
Incredible. Go ahead, Austin.
When you mentioned the alligator shoes, in World War I, Jack Dempsey got into trouble over shoes because
Exactly.
they had him after he beat Jess Willer. Of course, World War I was going on, so they brought him to a dock where they were building ships, and he had these old coveralls on, so he looked like the workers. And he put his foot up on a plank, and he had alligator shoes on. Well, they wanted to know why he wasn't in the war, and they were calling him a draft dodger.
Yeah.
And he was very unpopular until he won that fight with Louis Farrow. Where
Tex
he got
Ricker
knocked.
made him the enemy in that
Right.
fight. So that was an interesting. People think of Jack Dempsey as just being, such a beloved hero, and he was the rest of his life. But for those early fights, especially with Carpentier, he was not the one that people liked.
But he had $1 million gates,
$1 million gates.
and I think he
And
had
at that
5.
time, that's what $1 million gates at that time. I mean, that's
The money he was worth, and then of course he married considered the most beautiful woman in the world,
Right.
Estelle Taylor, the movie star.
Right. And he's divorcing him in this book. So these books, I'm not put in a nasty plug, but really I've tried to write
No,
these
it's okay.
books.
That's
I've
what we
tried to
wanted
write
you
these
on
books
for.
chronologically so that they would be a seamless tale. So people would also get a good deal of boxing history, as we go through the line. I don't know who I'm going to write about next, but it's at Max Beer now.
what was the
Everybody lost their money. So even though Dempsey was making millions of dollars in the 20s, you have to remember crash
Right.
29, and everybody, you saw more boxers. There were so many professional boxers and title holders back in the ring that it didn't even allow the new contenders to come up through because all the contenders were already title holders.
Oh, man. So
So
everybody.
you talk about a tough period to box in, the 30s, the Depression.
So everything was tough at that time.
Everything was tough.
Every profession.
Everybody lost their money. Of course, Tex Ricker died in 1929, and so people wonder, what would boxing have been like had he lived through that really horrible, trying time? of the
Compare
30s.
Tex Ricker, to Bob Arum or Don King. Is there, he's one of the first. So
Absolutely.
what kind of
I mean, he's a
comparison could you-
textbook case for the business of boxing. And there wouldn't be a big business of boxing because he brought boxing to the big stage.
Of course, we're talking about King and Arum, and now it's Golden Boy.
Right,
and Money,
right.
Money Mayweather.
Mayweather, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
it's different now.
But Don King was the Tex Ricker of the Ali era.
Well, yeah, I think the thing that makes me laugh about him is, only in America. Then if you win, I remember Julio Cesar Chavez is mi hijo. Then when Julio Cesar Chavez loses, he's not his hijo
Right,
anymore.
right. No friend after that.
Oh gosh, they used to
No friend.
and Arum and King, that feud they had on for years.
Yeah.
Years. Despised each other, really did.
Yeah.
And then they worked together, and then they despised each other again. And hey, money knows no.
It's like the Ali Frazier feud.
Right.
Great feud. I love that. Boxing is drama. It's the human drama to the extreme.
Yeah, no kidding, Austin. Austin knows about drama, believe me.
Well, my drama was when they were trying to pull me out of the dressing room to get in the ring. I was a little nervous.
When are we going to see you in the ring?
He's working on it. Go ahead, Austin. Tell him. Tell her.
I have one video of one of my fights, and it's the fight I lost. So,
I want to see that video.
Well, if you turn the TV on its side, it looks like I'm
Okay, it
standing
looks like you
over
won.
my opponent. So
Oh, man.
that works out well for me. But I love the old history of your writing,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
I hope
I'm
you're
passionate about it. I love this. This is what I wanted to do.
I hope you're not writing it from memory. That you had to do research. You know.
No. The memory shot, I do have to do
Man,
research.
All we got to do is boom every time. That's all we're missing with the quips. Somebody else. I'll have to tell Josh Brown, producer Josh Brown, who's doing a great job to come up with the, boom.
But
Every time there's a
there
boom.
we need that.
Just out of curiosity, people may not realize it, but a heavyweight back in that era probably weighed 190 pounds.
Okay, that's a good point.
175.
Good point.
Yeah.
But Max Baer was 220 pounds of steel.
Yeah, he fought at 210 and 209, and he would get up to 229, and then the trainers would make him, try to cut back, and that's why he went on so many tours to try to fight all these people. I mean, but these were the fighters that were fighting, 3 and 4, and some of them may be exhibition fights, and so don't, look at those and turn up your nose because they were exhibition fights. In the exhibitions, the local guy was trying to kill you. The local guy was trying to show against the winner or the title holder.
It's funny because this is an exhibition. Lyle Alzado played defensive end for the Denver Broncos and got in to the ring in an exhibition against Muhammad Ali. And Lyle Alzado's thinking, I'm going to take this guy down. And so they said Ali.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden Ali hits him with 20 straight. Like, hey man, this is an exhibition. Chill out.
Yeah.
And so Alzado,
Yeah.
all of a sudden Alzado's crazy anyway. So that's kind of funny
That's
when
true.
you mention those
That's
exhibitions.
true.
But Colleen, I wanted to ask this about Max Baer Sr. What would your dad's recollections of him when he sparred with him? Again, the movie Cinderella Man, you said, was kind of, Hollywooded up a little bit.
It was,
So-
and Ron Howard took that film. What I talk about in this book is that I'm not sure how much, there's a lot of research that went into the movie. Certainly we have friends, Mike DeLisa, that, wrote that book, but it wasn't accurate, and I believe that it was taken more from The Harder They Fall with Humphrey Bogart in 1956. So that was the model I believe that Ron Howard used. And Baer did kill a guy in a ring, but he paid for it the rest of his life psychologically and emotionally.
Do you remember who it was that he killed?
Well, it's Frankie Campbell. And Frankie Campbell, he kept paying, Max Baer kept paying for that death time and time and time again. He's also, some people attributed Ernie Schaff's death to Max Baer, but they all fought each other. And Ernie Schaff fought Carnera after he fought Max Baer before he died. So there were a lot of more deaths in the ring in this era as well. It just tells you the quality of fighters, how many people there were, and what they were up against, and how many bouts they fought. I mean, they're not fighting 2 a year.
No.
They're fighting 4 and 5 a month.
Right. Austin, we got about 2 minutes left, and I know we want to get these questions in about the Hall of Fame, so go ahead.
Well, one thing, when these fighters would go around tour fighting around the country, there was no television. So they'd go into a hometown, even though they were big punchers, they would tell the promoter, don't screw me on the decision, I'll carry your kid. And they would carry him for 10 rounds. But if there was a double cross, they'd score a quick knockout.
Yeah.
They didn't put up.
No.
Yeah.
Even in the movie Raging Bull, when Jake LaMotta has to take the dive and Robert De Niro, I still crack up. I've seen that movie 30 times. And he cries. He cries and
right,
oh my goodness.
right,
Oh
right,
man. And you had
right.
to take the dive back then. You had
Yeah.
to. You had to do to get that championship shot.
Right,
You had to do what
and that's what my father faced that
Right.
too. He went to New Orleans and all he found was a mob. And as long as he was in the protection racket, he could get
Oh.
fights. So the history
seedy side
in
of
here,
boxing.
right.
Yeah.
And yet you have people that turn out like this. And my father, I just love my father. I admired him, and he was so
man.
well respected. Once you're a boxer and you've gone through that, you have nothing else to prove.
Gosh, what memories that you've all got them.
I
written
love
in
these
books.
memories.
I'm gonna have
I
to read
love
those for
these
sure.
memories.
Austin, you know what? We wanted to talk about this a little bit. We did announce the Boxing Hall of who's going to be inducted on the last show, and a lot of people have questions about this. So, Austin, how does someone get into the Hall of Fame?
Well, if anyone can nominate a fighter,
Or anybody.
But
Doesn't have to be a
it doesn't have to
fighter.
be a fighter. Could
That's
be
right. That's right. It's very important.
could be a ring guard girl. But we'd like them
Boom,
to.
there we go again. Yeah.
So, but
We
it's-
don't have any currently.
No, but
That's right.
I'm working on it. I've seen several candidates I'm going to nominate.
I don't know if they'll pass the test, but keep going, Austin.
But I like them.
Yeah.
But basically, answer the questions who, what, when, where, and why. You can't just make things up. Give us some facts so that they can be researched. And that's all we're looking for, good candidates.
But to make a point, I mean, I'm very honored that I'm in the New Mexico Boxing Hall of Fame.
Inducted when? What year, Colleen? What year?
In 16,
Okay, that was 2 years ago.
2016. And so, people will say, well, how did she get in? Did she box? No, but I've devoted,
That's right.
my
That's
life
right.
to the profession.
No question about it. Your place
You
is
know,
just,
that's
you belong there.
that's what I can contribute.
That's right.
So a lot of people can contribute in ways that you may not think.
Not just boxing. You don't have to be a
Right,
fighter.
Right. So I mean, there are doctors. There are people that give of their time to.
Referees, judges are in there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
One
they're,
more
they're
quick
all
question, Austin. We got to
volunteers.
wrap it up. There seems to be a thought, or no. How does someone nominate someone, or no? Let me just we only just have one time for one. I'm sorry. Why are some of the noted boxers seem to be excluded? You did get a question about that. We've been hearing things here and there. Won't say who we heard it from,
Right.
but you tell us real quick, Austin.
Well, basically, we induct 6 people each year. The Boxing Hall of Fame has been around since 2009. And every year we put a class in, and obviously somebody's left out. But once they're nominated, they stay as candidates in future years.
Okay, I think that should explain. People are always going to have questions. That will do it for this episode of Legacy Boxing Showcase. For producer Josh Brown, Austin Colleen, our special guest, Colleen Aycock. Thanks so much for being here,
Thank
Colleen.
you, Ed.
Sure
Thank
had a
you for
great time.
inviting me.
I'm Ed Nunez. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of Legacy Boxing Showcase.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
It's time to make your plans to be at New Mexico's premier annual sports event. The 13th annual New Mexico Bowl is Saturday, December 15th, high noon at Dreamstyle Stadium. I'm Jeff Symbieta, Executive Director of the New Mexico Bowl. Be with us as once again college football's bowl season kicks off right here in Albuquerque. Bring your friends, bring your colleagues, host your holiday party at the New Mexico Bowl. It's annually one of the most exciting games of college football's postseason. Bottom line, it's a whole lot of fun. Visit NewMexicoBowl.com or call 925-5999, the New Mexico Bowl, where bowl season begins.